All right, this time I'm recording and I've got a little bit of the whiteboard behind me because I'll probably use a little bit of the whiteboard tonight. And maybe not. We'll see how it goes. So on the recording, you'll have a talking head of me with my Zoom hat. So my bald head doesn't make it glow in the dark and I look like disembodied eyeglasses going across your screen. So tonight we're going to be doing three separate things. We'll be finishing up with our free shell, right? And we will be doing some HTML. And I'm going to also be getting you into SQL. Now, this is a Unix class. Why do I need to use SQL? Because everything you do in computer science is going into a database somewhere, and you have to pull the data out from somewhere. So it's just good to know basic SQL just because it works and it does its job. So what I want you to do to begin with, if you have not created your free shell account, do so now, because the rest part of the evening we'll be doing everything on the free shell account. So there's about half of you that have created the account. The other of you haven't. And I will log into it and I'll show you who I have. And this is not meant to make you feel bad. It's just, you can't move on and you'll have to take really good notes or just watch the video 12 times, which I can bet a lot of you won't do. Okay. So if I go to this make users and change directory to SP25, oops, 25 SP. All right. This is who I have. The top one is me. Okay, I created an account for me as a student. This is where we're headed. So what we'll be doing is you'll be able, once you get your account created, you will get to log in any number of ways. But I am using this one and I'll explain why. Notice it says unixcab.org. When you create your home page, you have a list of maybe 50 different domain names you can choose. I don't care what you choose, just make note of it somewhere so you can go back to it. Okay? You can always reset it. Okay. And then when I log in, providing it's going to let me, I have a directory called HTML, and in here I have an index.html. Okay. Once I have all that stuff, I get to show you the next little piece of this lovely puzzle. I go to philly.unix cab, as in Unix cabinet.org. And that's the database. That's your website. You will be walking through these steps on how to do this. So you will have your own vanity plate in cyberspace using a free shell account, which is why you need a free shell login. Okay. And once you get logged in, I have run this validate all here. I'll show you what it does. It goes through and it says, okay, everything's validated. So these users can follow along. So what you need to do now is log in. And then you're saying, well, how do I log in? Well, the instructions were on the website. You can type it, log in a couple different ways. Let me log out here. Exit. And let me make this a little bigger so you can kind of see how. Do SSH. And then whatever your login name you chose. I can't change it. I can't change the password. All I can do is give you the validation so you can create your home page. You want to keep this? You can keep this. And I can say my login name at tty.sdf.org. So the login name has to be created. From last week, we went to freeshell.org. And I told you to do it from home because we had troubles with it. Too many people trying to create it all at once. Whoops. Because I've already said it. Let's see if this works. For me, anyway. You actually have, when you get this, you actually have to type the word yes, not Y. And then again, it prompts you for the password, which no stars. So you don't have any idea of what you're typing in. Okay. Let's take a few minutes and at least get these users logged in. Okay. So go ahead and log in. And I do have the ability to do who? Yeah. Although it's not very clean. There's a lot of other people on this machine. Type in uptime. 62 users. That's not too bad. Okay. Yeah.
So when I sign into this and I type in my username and password, it logs me in, but instead of getting like my thing at SDF, I'm getting a -5 like the start of the line.
Right. You will get a different prompt because there's a few steps we have to do. Once we get our username and password and we can log in. That's step one. Step two. Well, I guess I should do it over here so it shows up on the screen. All right. So with the free shell, step one is log in and your password. Okay. Two, you will type in maint. Okay, just that way. This allows you to change your password and your shell. Quiz from last week. What did we change our shell to? Bash. Okay, so your default is corn shell. We want to change it to bash. Okay. After that, we do two things. Basically, the same process. After we do maint and we change our password. Now, when you log in, your shell is bash, right? And you get the funny looking bash prompt. Well, we can change that. All that's changeable. It's just part of your shell. You're logging with your .go phone. To make our home page, this is where I have to run validate. If I don't run the validation against your login, you cannot run maint and you cannot create a home page. Okay. So once we get through this, then it's basically mkhomepg. There's two flags on this. That doesn't really show up on the video. It's okay. One of them is -A and the other one is -P. We need both of them. The first time you run it, you just say -A. What it does is it creates for you. Now I'm going to my student version here. If I change directory to HTML, do a list. And I do mkhomepg-a. It says, do you want to change it? You can say yes or no. I'm going to say yes. And then look what happens here. These are all the different ones you can use. How about bvomit.org? Anybody want that as their domain name? Nah, I don't think so. How about Enlist for all things Lisp or something, or so on and so forth. So you can pick any one you want. I have a tendency to like short ones, and this is the one I chose. You can choose anything you want, and you put it at the end, but it does have to exist. You could use FDF, SDF1, I believe. By unixplace.com. Okay. And then they have, I think they have free shell in there. Yeah, you can use freeshell.net if you want. It doesn't matter. Just pick one. Okay. And in my case, I will use unixcab.org. And then it gives you an option. Would you like to have it listed in the directory? And you can say yes or no. I'm going to say no. Ta-da! And now what happens is there is a default file. I renamed it, that this gets created for you. This one here. What's in it? It will say index.html. Okay. But this is what will pop up. It's basically a clone of their home page. This is what I want to teach you how to do tonight. How to change your index.html on your own vanity plate in cyberspace. So you can make it say anything you want. Okay. You make a resume. You could make a blog. You can do all kinds of fun things. All right. And then the other one you'll need is, after you make some changes, is make home pg-p. This is important. If I create a new page, let's see here. I'm going to, everybody remember this? I've got this very simple basic web page and I'm going to rip it off. What's the easiest way to do that? Right click, view page source. There's all the HTML code. Control A, Control C. I now have it in my cut buffer. I'm going to make a new page now. Cat minus redirect new page .html. Control Shift V, Control C. LS. There it is. New page. I'll slow down. I'll do it all over again. And I'll do an LS minus L. Notice any difference? We will learn about these permissions in the course of this class. I have a page that does exist, but when I go to the website and I go to Philips D Unix Cab and type in new page.html, it says forbidden. You don't have permission to access. Why is that? Anybody want to guess?
Because your permissions don't have public access.
That's right, public access. And when you're running the Apache web server, it needs read, write, or it needs, well, read and execute permissions, at least on this box, so you can display it on the web page. So now if I rerun this command, Notice what it did. It said it fixed it. Look what happened to the permissions. You see how that changed? Now what happens when I go over here and type in new page, all I have to do is hit refresh. Magic! It worked. So what are we talking about tonight? I'm assuming you've all had some programming, maybe some networking. We are talking about several layers of computing. We have the operating system that's on the network using TCP/IP. We have an Apache web server on our free shell machine that basically feeds out web pages. That's running on the network. TCP/IP on port 80. And it moves things back and forth by way of text to display as it is. Okay? So all these things are connected in a lot of different ways. Right? So your goal is to get free shell logged in, run maint, change your shell, make your home page, and then send me this URL of what your new page is. That's it. Now, if you get stuck, come by my office hours, set up a Zoom meeting, whatever. I want to see you learn how to do this. This is job skill 101. Can you put a web page on the internet? That's kind of important. Okay. Simple stuff. Okay. So that's there. So not everybody can do this yet because not everybody has their account. So I need to have you create your account and then I'll run validate on that. Once I run the validate command against your machine, it takes about 10 minutes or so for it to kick up or process. Okay. All right. While you're doing that, maint.
When we make our directory -a, do we want it listed in the SDF site directory?
Oh, it makes it automatically.
It's probably boring, yes or no.
Oh, you can, it doesn't matter. You can say no, because what that does is that puts you in their list of websites. It's just a directory. And this is all subject to change, so. And then once you're there, you can copy your HTML file. Okay. How many would like to see that whole process over again? One or two people? How many are completely comfortable with this and they got their website up and running and ready to post it? 2 or 3. Okay, so that means a lot of you are in the middle. Going, I'm not sure, I don't know anything yet. That's okay. Okay. Step 1 is get your username login. And if you know what your let me mention this is now that we're past census, all you need to do is initial underneath the date for this, okay, for attendance. So if you just created your username, let me know, and then I'll put you in this list so we can validate you, okay? I can also wait for you all to put it into Canvas, but then I have to go look at Canvas and then hit refresh. So.
We're supposed to do the TTY when we do it. For this, because whenever I don't do TTY,
Okay.
it's something totally different.
Yeah, you have to do TTY.
Now,
So
did
what
you
do we
get it
just say?
created?
Oh, that's there.
Yep.
it is.
And have you ever logged in yet?
Okay. Yeah, that wasn't coming up before.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it closed my connection the first time.
And
We
it's
did,
like,
it, we did it like 3 different
Okay,
times.
hit
So I
up.
tried it without TTY and it gave me a whole different like interface. Okay, such thing.
So yeah, so I needed to validate it. The very first thing I did is I went and changed my password. So much easier.
I hate this password.
It's a very strong password. but,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not gonna remember.
No, exactly. I mean, I had to bring up my email just to get it.
Yeah.
so you just created your. Did I? Are you? Now,
Did you open
the other part is, did you run this yet? No, okay, all right. So let me do this. This, we have some key exchange issues. So I don't see you on this list, so. If you're not on this list, raise your hand. And then let's go ahead and write your names on here. So I can validate you and maybe solve this problem. Just the actual login. So in your case, it's just your first name and the number. And your, yeah, same thing. Because then I'll add you to this list. Validate, and in 10 minutes, you're good to go. And then in 10 or 15 minutes, we'll do the next 2 steps.
on that list? But I'm not the same.
So your name's on there?
Yeah, I'm not the same issue. I'll need to enter the password a few times. So I password and stuff. That's the password that they provided me. Yeah, I'm not the same issue. Just like
Right. Now take the TTY dot off.
yeah,
Still. Steve.
I even tried using Buddy Consent to try Buddy like that. It didn't.
Was it working? Or never?
So,
So I just have to wait for him to validate.
What?
I just have to wait for him to validate.
basically, once he validates it, then you'll be able to sign in. But you have to give him your user.
Yeah, because I brought it, when it says the backspace, it just shows like a bunch of different servers. And then, try like entering that and then log over a couple different things. It's not just yeah, just starts this way.
And then enter. Yeah, enter.
No.
And then type maint. And then
Type your username.
so
Whatever, yeah,
I don't
you
think
need
it'll change
some-
anything.
whatever middle
Now,
click.
but
Yeah.
it might be able to try.
which is like. Or you can type it. But hit backspace a bunch of times. Remember, no stars. All right, who else needs to add their?
Which is a login, not password.
Oh,
Might also be an empty space either, but it's- For
The login for the SDF. So what you chose for free shell.
yeah, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, he remembers.
That's no issue.
Wait. So there you go.
If I get all your names.
I think
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
I think.
Okay. Thank you. I was stuck on that. I was like, what am I supposed to do?
It might turn an error if it's not validated. If that doesn't work, then I would just go back and try to change the password to make it easier.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says I have to validate the change shell.
Because this was, if you created your list, your username, you put it in Canvas. That's what I thought. So if you haven't put it in Canvas, I haven't validated that. That's why we're doing this hard copy back. So you didn't, oh, I think that's what I thought. Next one. Because this is going to be hands-on, you'll be able to take with you after you leave this class. You'll be able to have access to this machine. No, I just need that top part, Skylar and I don't need it. Oh, And you're getting the same thing. Okay. All right, let's get everybody else. And then we'll go for the next. I've got 6 more people. So, anybody else for the SPF login? In other words, your name is not on the list. I'm collecting hard copy. Yeah, we're all Oh, good. Hold on. I'll show you how. Yeah, so you're safe. So you're good. Now, actually, I think you're ready to run. Names. Because. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Are up there, you are valid. But why don't you just hold off and get everybody on the same page. All right. So I'm going to add some more names. This is the perils of having a machine that you don't maintain, you don't have that much control over. But that's okay. You can get a lot done. So I'm going to add the users. So double check my spelling as I read from this list to make sure I do it right. As I type in your name, make sure I spell it right. Anybody else want to put their name on this list so they can continue the process? Okay. This is everybody. And now I run that validate all. Yes, sir.
I didn't realize I had to put my name on the list to validate.
Because once this is all settled and we get it all working, I'll show you some of the trippy things you can do on having a machine externally to probe your own network. So you can actually do gray hat, black hat, white hat things using this account. Make sure I get the numbers right. And I can just run it again, and it'll say, all right, you're already queued. And then it says, okay, update queue. So everybody's on the list, right? Okay. If you're not on the list, there's some grades you'll be missing. Quite a few, as a matter of fact. Okay. Now that this is working, I want to do another little step of why I'm going to teach SQL in this class. How many are familiar with your web browser? How many are familiar that almost everything in your web browser is stored in an SQLite database? Yeah, a few of you. Also in your Android phone, also in your iPhone. Just about any embedded device I've looked at has some sort of embedded database, and they usually use SQLite just because it's stable, fast, and it works as a universal file format. So that's where we're going to next is let's have some more fun. Now, ancient history. We're going to log into the Jeremy box. But for the sake of argument, we're going to log into the Jeremy box using a GUI that is something called the Jupyter Notebook. If data science is your thing, this is how it's done. The Jupyter Notebook has changed how science information is distributed. It's also how demographic and maps and all kinds of trippy things are done. Just do a search on interesting Jupyter Notebook. Okay. First things first, where's the free stuff? Okay. Now I'm logged. Is this Brave or Chrome? This is Brave. I need Chrome. Okay. So I'm going to go to Chrome and I'm going to search on Colab Google. Google Colab. You get a free Jupyter Notebook with your Gmail account. Now remember, if anything is free, you are the product. They're collecting data about you so they can sell you more stuff. Okay. And it says, please sign in. So when you sign in, all you need is your Gmail account. Okay. This is a Jupyter Notebook, and you can do all kinds of cool things with it. That's the free one. That's the one that's out on the web. They have all kinds of really cool things. They actually connect this into GitHub. So you can save all your stuff using a Chromebook, nothing saved locally. That's the future of computing. Nothing saved locally, and then you pay the piper to get to your own stuff. A subscription model. Okay. Now, the Jeremy box, https://jmkll.org, and you'll get this. How many have seen this? Okay. All right. This is what I've been using. I've got a stripped down version of the Jupyter Notebook installed on the machine back there because it gives me the ability to do what I want it to do. Okay. And you're going to log in with the first part of your email address was first name, number, and then the password I gave you that you all have memorized, which was Linux Rocks 231, uppercase L, uppercase R. Okay. Case sensitive. Okay. Notice this one gives you stars. What's that say about writing a shim? This is web technology. Web technology makes it very easy to scarf passwords. Well, I shouldn't say that. Easier. In the old days, it used to be very easy. Now with HTTPS, it's supposed to be encrypted from end to end. Okay. Then you log in and you get this. Now, what I'm going to be working with for you folks this evening is the SQLite database. Okay. But we need to do a few things with the SQLite database first. First things first, I want you to log in this way. Okay. I'll show you what you can do with it. Okay, let's put it in my, if I click on the little file folder over here, it takes me up a directory. And there's a bunch of them that I have in here. Okay. I should probably log in as a different user. Let me do that. Let me log in as something else. Something that looks more like yours. Loading, loading. Anybody else having that problem, or is it just me? Oh, I know why. There we go. All right. A newer version. Well, don't worry about that. This is a Jupyter Hub notebook. This is the Jupyter Lab for multiple users. Generally, when you set up Jupyter Notebook, you put it on your PC and it's yours only, and you get to maintain it. This makes life a little easier for you as you just log in and use it. Now, what does it do? Well, it gives you a terminal. So you can now use a terminal without having to use SSH. And you can finish out the class using it. That's fine too. It also, every little click is something else. You can create a text file, just like a notepad file on your PC. You can create a markdown file, which we'll get into later. And then there's two notebook processes. I've got two kernels on here. One is Python, and the other one's Lua. Gamers? I might say probably everybody in the room is gamer, right? Lua is used a lot in gaming because it's an extensible programming language that's very small and very fast, and it makes it very easy to embed it into something else. So you can use this to learn Lua if you want. Lua is an interesting language. I like it. I don't use it that much, but this is Python. I'm just going to do a very quick Python shell, show you what it does. Notice I have different cell types. I am running a Python kernel. Can I write, so we say Lisp code and run it with a Python kernel? No. Can I write C++ code? Run it with Python? No. You're getting the idea. So once I have my kernel loaded, I know what programming language I can use. Now, I think I'll do that next week. I want you all to envision I'm handing you a blank piece of paper with a card. You're going to put your name on it. And I'm going to turn all the computers off. And I'm going to have you write a for loop that counts from 1 to 10. That's it. That's it. Now, some of you can do that already. Some of you are sweating, going, oh no, is that going to happen tonight? No, I'm going to do it next week. Giving you advanced warning. Quiz, for loop, blank paper, no computer, no phone. You can do this. I'm going to show you 2 different ways to write a for loop. First way, Python. Really simple. That's it. Now, if I want to be picky, watch what happens. Is that counting 1 through 9? How hard is it to fix? Simple. I just say +1. That's your quiz for next week. However, I want you to do it in Bash next week. And we did it last week in class. I showed you a for loop. I will show you again this week how to do a for loop in Bash. Okay. For loops are pretty handy. They come in handy for all sorts of things. But this is the Jupyter Notebook. Gives you the ability to do all kinds of nifty things. So I can right click on this and say rename, and I can call it for 110. There we go. It's now renamed, and I can close it. Hit save. But now I have this thing here that I can now download as a Python notebook or actual Python code. And then I can take that notebook code and put it on Google Colab. But this is where we're going to play. I'll make it a little bigger. So once you're logged in, change directory to SQL. Okay. Can you see that in the back? You need your binoculars. Now we're going to come back to the SDF. We're going to get started on the SQL. How many have had a database class? This would be a walk in the park. This is super simple. What I'm explaining is the SQLite database. Why it's so popular. One, it's screaming fast. It is a single writer, as in W-R-I-T-E-R, multiple reader. You would not use SQLite database to collect a gazillion things at once. Can't do it. Like a big database, like Oracle or MySQL, or you could have many people writing to the database at the same time. SQLite, you cannot. Okay. SQL how to. W3 schools. SQL. Ta-da. Walks you through it. This is very, in my view, SQL is pretty straightforward. It's not real hard. Select from where? Over and over and over again until you get what you want. Okay. The other place I recommend is modern-sql.com. If I can spell it right. I like following this guy because he keeps up with what's happening in the world of SQL. And he says, since 99 is not limited to this. And most people, I mean, this goes without saying, in industry, write code for SQL as if it was 1992. There is so much wonderfulness that has been added to the standard over time. If you learn how to do some of this stuff with the window and all the interesting things you can do with SQL, you can put other programmers out of work. Because Microsoft SQL Server is the back end to a lot of medical systems. What they do is they write C# to run an SQL query to return the data. But what you can also do is just write an SQL query and have a trigger and generate it all. So there's massive optimizations. If you get a job as a database person writing SQL, learn it deeply, because you will make things stand up. You'll be able to make things nobody else will know how to do. The hard part with SQL is what data is where and what does it mean? That's the hard part. That just happens when you get out there. And where you can scroll down, look at this. A recursive clause, SQLi supports it. It doesn't support this because this is multi-transactional. In other words, more than one person accesses it. Okay. So this guy's fun to follow. Anyway, good stuff here. So those two sites, W3 School, how do I do SQL? Go here. Okay. I'm going to give you a database. I'm going to show you how to create the database. I'm going to show you how to retrieve data from the database. And then you will write 10 very simple SQL statements to answer the question. So you're not going to be doing, you're not going to give me all the data. You're just going to give me the SQL statement. Okay. All right. So let's go back to here. And when you do an LS, what do you see? A database, right? Now, if we do file on Henry Books here, it tells you what it is. Okay. This will work on Mac and Linux. I don't know what the equivalent is in Windows. Anybody know? Is there a way to do file probing? Or is it just by the suffix of the file name? Oh, well. If you find out, let me know. Okay. All right. So now what do we do? Well, before we jump into SQLite and doing our homework, I want to show you where it lives. Okay. Let me move some of these things out of the way. If I do ls minus LA, I can see all these dot files. Okay. And give me a second. I can't remember where Google puts it. I think it's a clear. There it is. Maybe. Oops. Cache, Google, default storage. Use tab expansion, just like in your web browser. Nothing. Maybe it's in .local. Oh, it's got to be in .cache. Oh, there we go. Yuck. Doesn't that look lovely? Q. Data. Doesn't look like SQL data. Anybody done this on their browser? Here, let's do Mozilla because I know Mozilla uses it. Let me fire up. I don't think I fired up Mozilla on this guy. Yeah, see, this is brand new. So we'll say start a new session. Go click around a little bit. Go to my website. Go here. Go back. Maybe it's not config. Look at all this stuff that's stored on your machine. Isn't that amazing? Do it this. I think they call it DB. Find from my current directory something with the name of asterisk.db and then print the results. There we go. Zoom does a lot of that too. Well, that makes sense. Trackers. Oh, doesn't that sound fun? Cache, tracker 3. Let's see what's in that. SQLite database. Look at that. Look at all these guys. So, audio, pictures. Oh, wonder what that is. Look at the name of that database. That looks terrible. Guess what that says, folks? SQLite 3 database, last written using blah. So I can do SQLite 3 and bring that up. Malformed. Okay, fine. Be that way. All right. Let you know that there's a bunch of stuff stored on a machine that you don't know about that gets replicated where? Back to Google, Mozilla, Microsoft, Apple. They all harvest data from you because they give stuff away for free. Okay. Remember, if it's free, you're the product. So let's go to our SQLite database and we'll start playing with it a little bit. So you're logged in on the Jeremy box. Now, here's what I will tell you. SQLite 3 and then Henry Bucks. Okay. Now, the fun part with SQL is in some ways like the world of Linux, Mac, pick a distribution, so on and so forth. Let's see what shows up on screen. Nothing really shows up on screen. So we'll come back to these. Okay. And if SQL oh no, it went in. Awesome. That was not much better. Okay. SQL is the standard. SQL can be used pretty much across all databases. This includes all sorts of them. DB2, Oracle, MySQL, SQL, and then Microsoft SQL Server, SQLite, Postgres, Ingress, on and on and on the list goes. But each and every database has an engine that runs around the database that is unique to that database. SQLite is the database, and the dot commands are how you manage your SQLite database. MySQL has a bunch of different commands. Postgres has a bunch of different commands. Oracle has something even weirder. It's called PLSQL. It's totally weird. DB2, yep, you got it, is something else. So the tools that you use to manage the database are unique to the database. The tool, singular, that you use to put data in and take out of the database is the same, SQL. So what we're doing tonight is we're learning a little bit, very little, about SQLite, and even a little bit more about SQL. That's what we'll be doing, okay? Now, the homework I'm giving you is not difficult. It requires a little bit of time because SQL is very different than any programming you've had, okay? And the reason I bring it in is because I keep running into more and more things that have more and more data in it, and you yank it out with SQL. Even now, there's an argument, if you've heard the argument, no SQL is better than SQL, and you get into these religious wars. Well, here's the religious war I could tell you. This is how it got solved. Now, when I say religious war, that means it's just very opinionated, not necessarily based on fact, okay? Meta, all our good friend, right? They created a document store database that uses a key and an image. And you all know Facebook runs really fast when it comes to retrieving images, right? Well, guess what? NoSQL is great for knowing the key and shoving the data and pulling the data if you know the key. Meta decided, you know what? We have a problem. How many pictures of cats do we have on our document store? They have no way of knowing. So guess what they did? They wrote an SQL wrapper to go around their NoSQL database. So even if you have a NoSQL database, there is going to be some sort of a query against it, and it will look SQL-ish. May not be SQL. Like MongoDB, what's the one? Firebase, all those online document stores have a query language on them. Okay. So if you learn this, you're not reinventing the wheel when you move between databases. Okay. It even works on Access, mostly. Caveat emptor. Really, watch it. Okay. So if I type in .help, this is telling me the engine commands that I've got for this database. Okay. So SQLite dot commands are how I manage SQLite. Okay. So I just opened a database and I have no idea what's in it. First thing I do is dot tables, and it shows me what tables are in this database. Now, if you haven't had any database theory, this is database 101, is one table is comprised of information. And we call it a relational database because data from here, author, is related to the data in book by the way of, I think it's by, I don't remember. We'll have to look at it. Okay. So now I have an author table. So I need to see what's in the author table. Now, this particular command schema is pretty uniform. It may be called something different. It might be called show, but it's very similar. You do dot schema, schema on author, case sensitive. And you don't need the semicolon. Okay. So this is telling you what is actually in the author table. It has an author number. It's decimal with 2 and a 0. This is the primary key. All this stuff means something in the world of databases. Okay, W3 school. Author last name, character of 12, first name, character of 10. Okay. So now I want to probe my database table called author using SQL. So to do that, I can say, now the convention is all uppercase. It doesn't really matter these days, but used to. Select everything from author, case sensitive, semicolon. SQL statements end with a semicolon. Engine commands rarely. So when you use dot schema dot tables, no semicolon. It'll work, but you don't need it. SQL statements need a semicolon because what happens is this. Oh my God, I broke it. No, it's waiting for you to complete your SQL statement with a semicolon. So I'll put in author and then the semicolon. There they all are. Okay. Now, I want you to notice these funny little vertical bars. That's the default separator in SQLite. When have you ever seen a vertical bar as actual data? Anybody's name? Actual data? Like off a credit card, off a name, address, phone number, zip code. You start, it's not very common. Okay. The standard separator in almost everything else is the tab. So you can type in dot separator. and put in whatever you want. I'm going to put in 2 dots. And then if I run my command again, select from author, semicolon, I have 2 dots as my separator. Now, this is a little more difficult on these databases because but SQLite is designed to be embedded. Okay. So it's very fast to exit your, save your data, back it up. Do whatever. Okay. All right. So I'm going to type in exit. Now, what I'm going to show you now is an example of how you back up your data. This is one of many ways you can do it. Now, this particular style of backup is called dump. And this dump is basically the same thing in all these databases. Well, let me explain what it's actually doing. Now, there's a couple ways to do this. I'm going to use the Unixy way to do this. I'm going to echo a dot command called dump and run it to SQLite, and then I'll just hit return. Okay, so you can see what actually happened. What this is doing is as if I typed in SQLite henrybooks.sqlite enter .dump. That's what it's basically doing. Okay, that's what it does. It's creating a Henry Books backup in the SQL format. This is what SQL looks like. Now, yes, technically, you should be able to take this SQL statement and run it on these guys. It kind of works for simple stuff. But if you have advanced triggers and you've got things in there like macros, don't count on it. Okay. But this is a very easy way to back up your database, and it's now in an SQL format. Now, what does this give you the ability to do? I take all these commands, this file, move it to another location, and watch what will happen. First of all, I'm going to edit this one file, and I'm going to make author value 1 me. Okay. So I'm now an author. Woohoo. Okay. Now, I've made one change in the SQL statement. A couple ways we can do this. This is the easiest way. Type in SQLite 3. And then I'll just call it Dale.SQLite. Run the arrow the other way. Notice how fast that created. That's why people like SQLite. Screaming fast. Tables. There they are. Select. Let's go, what they call it. Well, I'll just say star. From author. Ta-da. There it is. Everybody tracking with this? Select from star. Okay. Now, with your homework. I haven't made the Canvas assignment yet. But basically, this is what it's going to be. I give you a couple of things. W3 resource actually shows you some of the things about SQLite. Now, there's several people that have taken SQLite, and because this is actually public domain, not open source, it's public domain. The guys that wrote SQLite have been the same guys that have been extending it. It's a team of about 5 people, and they've been working on it for over 30 years. They know it backwards and forwards. It's all written in C, not C++, but C. What you have to pay for is their testing harness to make sure your version, if you're customizing it, does something else. But there's other databases that have been used that use the core of this to do other magic. DuckDB is one of them. It's great for online transactions. There's an SQL lib that does something really cool. So basically what you'll be doing is following these. List the complete author table. There's the answer to question 1. List the author number and last name for every author. Okay, how do I do that? What command tells us how the table is built? Schema. Schema. So let's take a look at this. So I got schema on author. So it's asking for list author number and last name for every author. What's author num called? What's author last called? So if I type in select author, case sensitive, comma, what do you suppose it's going to list? Exactly. The author number, the author last. Okay. That's the answer for question number 1. That's all you'll be doing in this assignment. Okay. You'll be going through and you'll get down to all of these can be done. You're going to do a few things with greater than and equal to. There is an interesting thing in the world of SQL. I won't get into great detail, but if I say count, tells you how many records is there. There's a lot of things you can do with just straight SQL to look at your data, to make sure your database is updating. You can look at date and time variables. There's whole career fields in databases. Now, I do need to get on this little rant just a bit. Okay. This is something for your future that you'll need to know one way or the other. If you get a job working at a company and your job is what I do back there, administration, DevOps, networking, you will most likely get paid overtime. Okay. So your pay rate will be overtime. Okay. This law changed in 2005 when I quit Foster Farms. my salary would have tripled had they honored all the overtime, because before that I was exempt. What made this law change was all these .coms came up overnight, offered everybody stock options, and then went bankrupt. And people who put in 80-hour weeks for 6 months got nothing. So they changed the laws that this is now an hourly rate plus overtime for most jobs in IT that are related to keeping the lights on, except database administration. Here you are still exempt, EMPT, which means they give you your yearly salary. That's it. You might get bonuses depending on the company. You might get stock options depending on the company. But the database administrator has all his fingers in the business logic of the company. Just like the CEO or the CFO is going to have inside information about that company. So when they quit on their exit interview, they will have to sign a non-disclosure that they will not reveal any of this information. Okay. Just a heads up for you is that sometimes the money's better, sometimes it's worse, but it's always a headache, because the problems in the world of databases is, let's build this skyscraper. Oh, look at this beautiful skyscraper. Oh, we need a basement. And then you have to re-architect everything to put the basement in the skyscraper. Now, in a standard building mindset, you would not do that, couldn't. But people think software is just software. Let's do miracles. So get used to that. You have to educate your management, okay? So this is something to keep in mind. So if you get a job as a DBA and you wonder why you're not getting overtime, well, it's probably because you signed on the dotted line, you're exempt. Okay. So that means they can work you to death. And you'll probably burn out and go somewhere else. Okay. So that's how that's going to work for SQL. Okay. And you can do that on the Jeremy box. All I want is the answers in SQL. Okay. Okay. We'll do one more. We'll do question 3, because question 2 is just the same thing as question 0. Question 2 says, list the complete branch table and all rows and columns. Well, you don't know how to do that, right? Select star from branch. Okay. Next one, number 3, list the name of every publisher located in Boston. Let's go here. So I'm going to do dot tables. Now, where do you suppose publisher city is? That's what I would say. So let's do dot schema on publisher. Sure enough, there's city. Select everything from publisher, semicolon. There it is. But we want only Boston. And what's it called? When I did schema, whoops, too far. It's called city, right? So now I can say, select city from publisher. That doesn't tell me much. How about this? Oops. Oh, and double quotes. It's a text field that needs double quotes. So I got two of them. That doesn't tell me much. List the name of every publisher. Oh, I forgot that. So where would that be? Publisher name. So I can say now we can get into some religious wars here. Does the city print? No. But technically, the answer to the question is list the name of every publisher located in Boston. It didn't say print the city. Now, this is the kind of problem you'll get with business logic. Things are vague, appropriately vague, sometimes on purpose. Very handy. But if I was doing this, I would probably put comma city here. So the user knows what they're looking at. They will have forgotten that they asked for this. Here's typically what happens in the world of data in general. Give me what I want. And you're going, okay. You make a guess. And you give them something. They said, that's not what I want. Yeah, but that's what you said. But that's not what I meant. Now you can start a dialogue and get at what they're really asking for. Okay. Sometimes it's very difficult. Okay. That's why having some business knowledge is very helpful. All right. So I've given you the first three answers and you only have 7 more. Not too shabby. Okay. I'll put this all up in Canvas. The only thing I want is a PDF of the SQL statement. Okay. And then you can use W3 Schools as your I don't know how to do this. And if you've got questions, let me know. I'll work with you. I'll walk you through this step by step. Because this is the kind of stuff that you'll use in a job. And what generally happens is your manager says, hey, we need you to do this. I'll hand you the book. And you got to figure it out. There's just nobody's going to teach you. You have to learn how to learn, or you will not survive in this business. If you love to learn, this is the best business to be in. I'm learning new stuff all the time. It's great. You never get bored, that's for sure. Okay, now let's go back to, let's see if we can log into SDF. And when you create your meg page, if you did, it will ask you for a domain name, and that's what you'll need to use. Now, let's see if we can get logged in without that error. Okay, that one, that one. That's Chrome. All right. Are we logged in? Now you're still getting the same error?
Yeah, just once I put in the password, it said connection failed.
Hmm. Try that. Log into the Jeremy Lab, SSH space, then your login at jmk.org. jmkll.org. Yes. Use that crazy password that I just erased. Linux Rock 231. Unless you change it. Anybody want to know how to change their password? The command line is simply PASSWD, all lowercase. It prompts you for the current and then the new. Linux rocks. What we're going to try is SSHing from Jeremy to SDF. Jump over. Ah, you're on. Yay. You're good. Now, note, if you type in notes -R, it will actually show you how to recover your password. These are some basic things that they have set up. Okay. Cool. That's new. Set up your home page. That's good. Create your new URL. Nice. That's new. Okay. So you can hit Q. And first thing we have to do is type in maint. N-A-I-N-T. And that probably won't work because it needs to be lowercase. Log in again. Because when you type in maint, it logs into their single sign-on screen. So you can change the password automatically for your shell. See, oh, that's golf. You need CL. X term, kitty unknown term type. That's interesting. I know what kitty is. Type in export. A term. TERM, all equal font. And say VT100. Now echo dollar term. Now it should behave itself. I'm typing clear. Close enough. Because what you're using is a terminal emulator that's called Kitty, and Kitty is written like. Yeah, so it's new, but the shall we say the profile for the Kitty terminal emulator does not live on the terminal. So you have to customize it personally by using .x resources. If you want to listen on X and terminal, we'll talk about that. Yeah, VT100 is the basic output. And now what you want to do is change your shell, and you type in /USR, just like that, /EKG, /bin, /bash, and hit it. There you go.
That's siege SH.
Change shell.
Yeah.
That'll work too on this box. That's a shortcut, so you don't have to do maint. CS. What did you say? CDSH?
CHSH
Oh, that's right.
dash S.
CHSA. This stands for change shell. If you log into SDF, you can type in that and type in bash and it'll change it for you. But you gotta do that every time you log in. So what I'm, with the maint command, it's changing it. So you're always at bash. So when you log into the Jeremy box or SDF, you're gonna have the same programming language with your shell. But because corn shell will not work with bash. They're not compatible. Some of them. All right. All right. Oh, yeah. You want to type it in just as it shows. User /user/. It's like you want to /USR. USR. /PKG. /bin. Enter. Now, if you want to change your password, this is the perfect time to do it. Okay, just change it to something you remember, because I won't be able to help. Okay. So if you change your password to something and you need to have it reset, I can't do that on the free shell. What? For which one?
Yeah.
On which machine? On Jeremy, you can do PASSWD. And I got you, and I put your name. So let's do the same thing. SSH into the Jeremy. Welcome to the land of jumping hosts. I'll show you a little quick trick with SSH. It'll go way beyond your heads, but it's really kind of cool. It's called a jump host. You set up something out there, and then you can jump to it and jump to another machine and bypass VPN. It's way cool. You're gonna really have to go.
Isn't there an easier way?
Always. There's always easier ways. Then you can use Chisel, which uses actually goes between Mac to Mac. But you run a miniature client in there. Chisel's all it can go. There's a bunch of ways to transverse tunneling. You can tunnel through HTTPS. You can tunnel through HTTP. Yeah. Whatever port's open, you can figure out a way to get in. No, log into the Jeremy. So you're on the Jeremy. Okay. All right. So when you getting that, right? Just as we are without. Who else is getting connection code by port 22? All right. You know, in the world of tech, you get so used, you know, in your normal life, you get so used to having one right answer. In your normal life, things are black and white, one right answer. In the world of tech, no such. There's usually 10 right answers based on the problem you're trying to solve. It might be this answer for this environment and this answer for this environment. So just get used to the idea of having several wrong answers before you get the right one. Okay, that's just the nature of the beast in this business. All right. So I'm here. I'm going to click on SSH. So if you go to free or sdf.org click on SSH. There's this WTTY in browser client. See if that works. Try that. So go to freeshell.org or sdf.org, and then it will bring up a menu like this, and there's a SSH over here. And oh, by the way, they have their own Git. So if you don't want to put everything on GitHub where Microsoft looks at everything, just use this one. Okay. SSH. And then you go here where it says web browser SSH for new users. Let's see if this works. Maybe. Ah, work. Does that work for you? Or are you still getting the same error? Same error. Anybody else getting the same error on that? And the next question we have to find out is, did I type your name right? Isn't this fun? This is what it's like working in industry. Nothing works right, ever, the first time. If it does, try to hide your amazement. It just doesn't work right. Okay, I was looking for, I need to log in as, let's see, close some. All right, Alan. Well, did I type your numbers right?
Yeah, they're all right.
4488. Okay. LAN. Okay, so technically that should work. Did David Hayes get logged in? Okay, so you're good. All right, so we're all good. Hmm. $20. Now that adds up.
All I did was enter my username and it said connection.
You know,
On the web, all I did was enter my username and it said connection closed.
because this WTTY I think is all written in JavaScript. And it says reconnect. Okay, type in menu. Same.
I'm on my own.
If you're on a hotspot, that's different.
Yeah, I'm on my own.
Yeah, then it should work. So you're on, so that. So when you, so your VPN out, VPN is connected, and take VPN connection to SDF. Oh, because some VPNs don't let you do 22. So I don't know. And it'll work. Okay, so you got your VPN on and you can go to the Jeremy box.
No, I can't even log into Jeremy box. I think
Oh, that could very well be that you, I haven't created you on that machine. Yeah, that could be. We'll go check it out in a second.
Yeah, no, no,
That is all that one, because you'll have to get logged into that. All right. Yeah, and work or arrow.
Yeah, you want to type in user package bin back. Exactly the same. USR on it. You have spelling is precise. Okay. And then what I'll do is I'll send an email to the sysadmin saying, hey, I'm trying to get these people going. Now, check in mail. Now, but your bash hasn't been set. Just in the wrong. Q there. Did you hit Q? Okay, so you did exit. Close. Go ahead and log out. Log back in again. I'm just curious. Just type in exit. Exit. Get up arrow. Aha! Getting closer. So you were logged in. We logged you out. Go turn right around and log back in, and you get connection closed. All right, we'll have to put that on hold. And I will find out from Eric. Stephen Jones. Let me log into the Jeremy box to see if you actually have a login. Because you may not. Well, let's go over here. Whoops. Yeah, I don't see you. All right, so it's ERIK, right?
CA.
Such short memory. Tired. Oh, CK, that's what you said. I just did. All right, cool.
Alright,
Get you created on the Jeremy box right now. Yep. All right, so what I will do is say, these are some new ones here. All right, you should be able to log in now.
Cool.
Now, what I've done, I'll spend a couple of minutes explaining what I'm doing when I add users. This is Bash. It takes the current list of your email addresses. It cuts off the first field. So it's just your name and number. And then I create a for loop, which you will write from scratch on a blank piece of paper next week. Warning, warning. And then it echoes it, and then it does this command, user add. This is kind of a hack. This is the encrypted password for this. Now, can you reverse engineer encrypted passwords? Yes. If you know the algorithm, you can reverse engineer them. Okay. And then it adds it, then I force a change on your home directory so your public web pages will behave. And then other stuff that I don't do because it's commented out. Okay. So let's give you the answer to next week's quiz. Let's see how long your memory is. Okay. This is fun. Let's do an LS, see what I got here. Oh, those are all too confusing. Or if, no, thank you. No, we don't want to do that. This is how you handle arrays in Bash. You cannot do arrays in Corn Shell. In Corn Shell, when you have to do advanced scripting, you end up having to use external tools, and a lot of them. Bash has a lot of features built in. So what I'm going to do is just write 4, 1, 10, and I will be writing there's a couple different ways to do this, but I kind of like doing this. One space 10, do done. I think that's right. Or am I getting it in Bash 4, 1? Yep, I'm right. Now there's probably 6 or 7 different ways to do 1 through 10. Okay, this is just one way. This seek is an actual command that runs at the command line to generate numbers. You should all be able to do this. I hope. Because I was testing this thing. And I'll take your code and put it up here. And we'll see how everybody does. This is kind of fun. When they're more complex, if I give you complex shell script, they're really fun to share across the class because everybody's approach is different, but everybody's answer is the same. That's what's so cool about programming. Makes your brain hurt. It uses logical and creative at the same time. Yes. Loud. Oh, I can't hear you at all. I'm getting new hearing aids tomorrow. Let's hope. I've got this little microphone piece I can throw around the room and talk into it. It's not there yet. Oh, it has to. Yeah. Yeah. So once you put it in, that's fine. Go ahead and put it in, even if you've already put it in. And I've already got it. Go ahead and do the Canvas assignment for the free shell. So we can do that. And now the question is, we'll give it a little time. I'm curious to see if you're still getting that connection reset port 22. So that would be the question I've got. Okay. So is yours, can you log in again? Did it work? Okay, those directory didn't make. Oh. Make. Okay, now when you type in make lowercase, now you type in you're there, and the same happens. There you go. Now you can change the content. That's the shell. Slash either slash.
There's this assignment.
Slash that.
It's due next week. I'm not sure if that's this is login.
Oh, you log in?
That's just,
I'm-
you submit your login so you can.
Yes.
Just take it. And then once it comes back to the screen, the Q. Q. Now you're logged out. Now type in. Okay,
Yes.
okay,
I didn't say it on mine.
now type in echo dollar shell.
So it's.
So you need uppercase SHE.
I think you just add your login here. This is how you click everyone's login together, right?
So that means you still got the old shell. Just
So
back.
the quiz literally what's your free shell?
Because they're second argument, just type in back.
So it's just gotta be
username.
Yep, just username.
There you go. Now, do mkp make home page space minus a. Space minus a. All right, you're gonna pick one of these. I want something simple, like SDF1 or SDF. I don't really care. Pick one of those. And then you just hit space or input. Go to the next. You can change it later too. It's not like you're stuck. When you press can't return. More, which is big one. Okay. Now put your domain name at the end there. SDF1.org or TX0.org or whatever you want. That won't work. That won't exist. So type in MK. And then you have to pick one of those. It's space bar. ChaosNet, that's good. So. Now, backspace. I think ChaosNet. Yeah, is that what it was? It's chaosnet.org. There you go. There you go. Now what?
I need your.
Say what?
I did build this from scratch. So here's that.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter. You can use Arch, we just have to go through and install packages. It's no big deal. It's just, this is how you learn Linux. You get to be able to, you have to fix your own. So if you just open a command line on Arch, and so you're using C shell, which is fine. Now do $$ shell here. So it says Z shell. Now do $$ term. So it's showing you kitty. Now, at this command prompt, type in X term. Not that. X term is like the X term is like the ancient. Okay, now type in X term.
And it looks completely different. Yeah, now hit enter and see what's going on. You see that's funny? You had two options. One is Unicode, one isn't. We got lots of learning to do. You need to come see me one-on-one and we'll jump through all the hoops for you. I don't want to take up class time to fix parts. Well, what will we do?
Reach out.
You pick one. I didn't matter which one. Yeah, just space. And then you just finish it out the way you want. Yeah, whichever one. How about sdf.org? It makes it super simple. And you won't forget it. That in space. Right on. Type in whatever you want. sdf.org or sdf1. And it doesn't matter. You can say directory, yes or no. No is fine. You logged in? Got it all working? No?
No,
Okay.
my head hurts.
Okay, that's fine. It will hurt in this class.
It doesn't matter.
It's everything is new in this class. TG, say minus the A. Oh, you did that, and then you do dash P. Doesn't matter, you can say no. There you go. Now what happens is you now have a new directory called HTML. So if you type, do an ls, here, an HTML directory. If you go to your web browser now and type in your login name, C Mary, right? Dot SDF, whatever you chose, one or yeah, or G, hit enter. Hit refresh. Okay, we are at the point where I need to show you how to do a web page. There's a couple ways to do this. So if you've gotten logged into SDF and you've done maint, you've logged out, you've logged back in, we're ready for make page. When you type in make page, let's see, which one do I want to use? I'll use this one since I'm on it. This is the web TTY one. When you type in mk home page -a, you all saw this, or you will see this. It comes up and says, wait a minute, what domain name do you want? You just pick one. In my case, it's Unix cab. Do you want to change it? I'm going to say yes. So here we go. I can pick out anything I want here. Space bar, space bar, space bar. Finish out your domain name with one of the above domain names. That's all there is to that. And I'm going to use the same one, unixcab.org. And do you want it listed? Doesn't matter. I'll say no. You now have a new directory called HTML. And if you do an ls, you will have an index.html that you didn't do. So you will want to do an ls -l to see if it is 7, 5, 7, what is that? 1, 1. That's kind of weird. 7, 5, 1. That's really weird. Nevertheless, 751 is the permission. Talk about that later. Okay. So let's look at what you will have. This is the original copy. Okay. This is it. All right. So I'm going to move index HTML. This is mine. Index basic, or I'll just call it basic.html. and then move index SDF to index.html. Move. Now, if I go to LED, Unix cab, do refresh, this is what your website will look like. You want to change it. How?
HTML index.
Overwrite your HTML index file, index.html, with something else. You can do it this way. Yeah, come on, fingers. This is where I have a basic web page. Phillips on my main website, phillipsd.com/basic HTML. Okay, there it is. Very basic HTML page. How do we rip off HTML?
Source code.
View page source. This is just either you're getting it and you've done it, and or you're lost. Can't tell. And I do Control A, Control C. And now, here we go. I'm just going to call it, I'll give it my first name. We can do it this way. Now, what is happening here? HTML. Cat minus redirect. This gave me a huge raise. 2 separate jobs. It's great. Control Shift V, Control C. I now have a Dale HTML with the wrong permissions. How do we fix permission? mkhomepg-p. Anytime you put something in this directory, you need to run that. There we go. Now I can open up my website. Ability, Unix cap, hit refresh. That's my original, but now I wanted to go to Dale. I do type in /dale.html. There it is. How many just completely got lost? Yeah, I went pretty fast. This is very new to all of you, but this is the foundation of everything you do all day on your phone. Web stuff. Yeah, fire away.
I logged in. It was
Oh, okay. Or what? Oh, you put in your HTML.
yeah, it said it's okay.
Okay. Oh, I see. Oh, that's what you're saying. Your password.
Yeah, it was just, I thought it was an L. It was a
Watch. Yeah, when you get your password from SDF, you gotta watch the L.
I guarantee that's gonna be my problem.
Yeah, the L and the I, uppercase, lowercase. Fonts. Yeah. There is a reason if everybody does a search on Intel Mono, it's a programmer's font written for those who can't see very well. It's what I use on everything. Yeah, it's mono, but it's still not as clear as because where the Intel Mono works so well is squirrely brace. You don't spend hours trying to find your squirrely brace compared to something else. It's very noticeable. So we'll talk about that. Did you get your page created? You're logged in, page created? Okay.
I just use
Do what?
I just use
Yeah, that works. Yeah. So you did that. Okay.
Like I changed it.
So
Which domain? Oh, you have to pick one. So you did. Yeah. All right, now. Yeah. Basically, you got to do it. Right. There's HTML, CDs, yeah. Yeah, no worries. CDs. There's your index. Now, cat space index. That is your web page. Yes, no. Or we can choose.
To make your own picture. Yeah.
Okay, class is over, but it's running out again. What we'll be doing
So
next
for mine,
week
it also
is we'll
did
pick
show
up
for a while
from here and we'll be
show up a friend.
modifying our dot bash
But all this
RC
shit,
slash
like after
file.
Make it
Yeah,
look
but
like
we changed it for the code optimizer website, so we went to the Phillips Unix capital slash. Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah.
Now,
And even logging source code folks and pasted it in the index, so we have this other basic website.
Gotcha.
But it's like, if you reach directory dash A and then reach directory dash B, if you just give some time to shift.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna show up, but if I do like.
Because I did my main class and we did, I mean, just then I started showing up towards the end. Yes.
I do got. Yeah, it says it's there. So that should be different.
Yep. Do something for your interaction.
Do you know what would show up, like if I typed in that link? This one?
Yeah, you go to that and type in that link.
Now,
What the ones I called out?
yes,
So I don't need to type in like cat.html. Cool.
Yeah, your indexation.
That could be why.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I was like wondering what all this means right here. And all this title list, yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's just HTML. Yeah, it's the code for it to make
So when do we have to give them the website? Do you think we're gonna work on that?
I'm guessing.
That's what I'm thinking, 'cause I mean, we made progress with passwords. Just wondering if like it'll stay in batch. When I log back on, it should.
Oh, like back into this.
Yeah.
It's not going to. Just
log in again.
Actually, yeah, it does have a login, just like I do for SSH in the check box.
Oh,
So I'm gonna hate how I change it back and forth from KSH to bash.
That, yeah, once you save your bash, it should say.
It should stay. Oh,
Once you change your
Okay.
preferred shell, it'll save on the shell.
perfect. Okay.
all right. So I think he was first. and then CD space, do an LF. Do PWD. You're in the HTML directory. LF. Well, yeah, all right, you hit CD. LF. Okay, so you have not run make. So mkhomepg. Okay, mine's A. Okay, say no. Done. Now type in make homepage. Now do it on this. CD space. Yeah, there it is. Now cat index.
Thank you, Professor. Hope you have a good evening.
You bet it too. There it is. Now open a riprap. Put in your URL. Put your login. No, I'm free.net folder. Free.net.org, whatever it was. I don't. And I think that should be a smaller white footage. Scroll up on that screen. Let's see if you want it. Okay, that's what you scroll up. That one right there. Now that one, if you click on it, that should open a web page. So you're really close. So what's going to happen is go back over here, look at your HTML page. Now you can put a new HTML page. BI skills and change stuff out. Let's do an ls minus L first. Let's do VI index.html. And let's on the hosting site provided for where it says hosting. Where it says hosting. No. Right in front of me. Yeah, click on it. And backspace. What's your name right there? Where? Escape. Colon, W. All right. So you want to go. Log in. With might need to
we just do dry, but it looks.
So I usually say that.
Oh, change your actual web page?
Yeah. That's where your web page will sit.
Okay.
And it should show you the and you have the same problem.
Yeah.
So it's just gonna be updated. Give us some time.
Okay. The easiest thing to fill out, so if you just, if you need. Just move on that line.
Yeah, one. Okay, homey.org, that's great. All right, well, let's over here, open a new tab. Type in your login name homey.org. There you go. Sort of not. So I don't know why I did that. Gotcha. Is that actually an option on those? You can't make one up. It actually has to be in that list. Any one of those, but it has to be one of those or it will not. So you just do it over again. Hit enter. And then space. And there you go. There you go. Now if you do an LS. Big horn page. Instead of a dash A, do a dash A. Instead of a dash A, use a dash this. Okay. All right, generating generic, perfect. Now, go up here, type in your username. Now, if you wait about 10 minutes, right? So we're getting to where we can add it. Okay, that's the issue. So it takes a few minutes for all that. Change it. W3 schools, you can change it any way you want.
Have a good night.
All right, take it easy.
So I changed the VI, the index on HTML, and I find the first page is still the same.
It takes a few minutes.
Okay.
It takes a few minutes for it to actually work. Once it propagates, anywhere from 5 minutes to 15 minutes or something. By the time you get home, it's probably fine.
Okay, cool.
And if we still have problems, well, we'll have problems.
We have problems. All right, I did not get as far as I wanted, so. Oh, well. What we did. Got through that. Oh. Next week. So next week is.
Good night, Professor.
All right, take it easy.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Isn't this fun?
I see you grimace. Okay. And once you pick your domain, right? So you go chose freeshell.org. That's good. And then type in make home page. Just did -A, right? Now do make home page -P. Enter. Now do an LF. There's an HTML directory. Change directories. CD space. LF. There's your index. So now, if you open a tab, highlight that HTTP 997 column. Right click on it and say open link. Okay, it's just not there yet. Type in add link, no space. Q. And then type in free shell. We'll just have to wait a minute until it goes through the process. By the time you get home. But I recommend that you go to the Plural site that we did at the very beginning of the ACM. And look, if you're not going to do that, at least go to the Linux command line. Type it in as a search, Linux command line. And go to there. Walk through this. I'm not assigning homework. Because the way I do things is I assume people are working on this between classes. I'm treating you more like an adult.
Less than as a high school student, where everything is spoon fed, little bit by little bit. And then we'll have write a for loop in bash next week. Okay. Let's do this. Stop recording.